You've probably already heard that actor Alec Baldwin shot and killed his director of photography and also wounded his director on a movie set in New Mexico. The news media initially began describing the incident using various versions of the phrase accidental discharge. There are some great lessons for us to be learned in this incident, so let's get to it. We're going to use the term negligent discharge instead of the old accidental discharge. It describes any time, and that means any time you shoot your firearm when you did not intend to or you should not have. The reason we use this new modern term is because firearms rarely discharge accidentally. They don't just go off. The overwhelming cause of a negligent discharge is caused by you or something pulling or pushing on the trigger. You pulled the trigger or something got in the trigger guard to cause that trigger to be pushed. We've got a lot more in-depth information regarding negligent discharges and some of the causes and definitions of negligence. And we have that posted on the blog at tsgdefense.com. Take a look there and get a lot more in-depth information from what we're presenting here. We're going to concentrate on how to avoid negligent discharges during self-defense situations. Because by the time we've retrieved or drawn our handgun, we are in a serious self-defense situation. It's violent and tumultuous, and these attacks make for a chaotic environment. This can cause us to discharge our weapon unintentionally and sometimes, as you're going to see coming up, without even our knowledge. We need to be conscious of what we're trying to do with our hands and our body when we have our handgun drawn, because there are generally 3 events which cause our hands to tighten reflexively. The first one is our startle response, or what's commonly called a flinch. The second one is a falling or a stumble reflex, and the third one is sympathetic or interlimb reflex. The blog post has a lot more detail on each of those 3 reflexes. Here's a video which shows a good example of how this can happen even with a trained police officer. First, we see a police officer from Haddon Township, New Jersey, making a fairly routine traffic stop. At this point, the driver decides he's going to flee the scene.
Get the fuck down! Get the fuck down! Get the fuck down! Get the fuck down! Get the fuck, hands where I can see him! Hands where I can fucking see him! Hands where I can see him! No, on the ground, on the fucking ground!
This is where it gets interesting. The driver makes a break for it, and as the officer tries to reach in front of him and pull him down, he discharges his weapon. Let's take another look at that in slow motion. There's more of the situation described in the blog post, but essentially the end result is that the driver ends up being controlled and starts to complain about his leg injury. At first, the officer doesn't even realize that he discharged his weapon, and it's only until fellow officers come up and verify there is, in fact, a gunshot wound to the driver's thigh that it starts to dawn on the officer he's just had a negligent discharge.
Get up! Oh, don't need it.
The leg. He shot me.
Are you shot?
He shot me, man.
Where?
What? He shot me.
I had him at gunpoint. You did not.
Even though we think we're never going to put our finger on the trigger, while we're in the frenzy of a fight, it's predictable that our base biology is going to be stronger than our intellectual mindset. We have to be able to override these base reflexes as much as possible through 2 things. 1, awareness of this very real response and its propensity to happen during a fight. And number 2, constant and ritualistic training to keep our fingers straight and off of the trigger until we're on target and ready to shoot. Let's learn from incidents like the Alec Baldwin shooting and the video we just watched. Make our firearms handling a ritual that you follow the same way every time.
Got out and you had the gun in my
Okay. Get